For the last several weeks, what could only be considered German spies have been captured in Russian territory. As Stalin heeded these warnings, it was too late if he did. Air reconnaissance along the border continually warned of a German buildup, and it wasn't until the night of the 21st that Stalin took the advice of his generals and ordered his air force to change its deployment. The next day, Operation Barbarossa began. In hours, 5,000 Soviet airplanes were destroyed, mostly on the ground. When the German army started its invasion, it was precise and punishing. Minsk fell in days, and Riga was cut off and surrounded, pinning the Northwestern Army and Air High Command in place. A desperate mission was organized to escape within the Baltic Sea. Naval airplanes were sent in to protect them from the German Navy. Unfortunately, they could not receive a fighter escort. So straight off the bat, I get cap trapped right at Riga. Probably should have seen that coming. But other than that, I didn't really do much air-wise on the first turn. I kind of, with my recording, am off-tilted, so a lot of the content is not there. So I'm going to move on to the ground phase. That will be fixed by the next video, hopefully. But I only lost about 100 airplanes on the first turn. It's all of it pretty much in the Baltic Sea, trying over Riga. And I'm not even 100% sure I needed them to even get them out by sea, but it is what it is. Just Russian airplanes. Russian airplanes that, by production, industry will not replace for several weeks. So it's going to be a quiet few turns in the air war as I try to rebuild, and if I can get lucky and capture or cap trap them somewhere, it'd be great. First order I sent out basically is to grab all the support units I could and move them all back to Stavka. I'm going to try to redeploy them in turn 2 to areas that they might be more useful in and figure out where my opponent plans on sending his units. Because right now it's all down at like Western headquarters and Northwestern and whatnot. So I lose right now Peskov, let's say. I'm going to lose all that artillery and all that anti-tank, which I do create at the end of this turn. A decent, well, basically what I could. I went 2 rifle divisions, and I think all the free stuff I maxed out on, a lot of AA. I think I spent 2 admin points on, I spent 2 admin points on supply depots up north here in Peskov, and another 2 on anti-tank units. Not 100% sure I have the production to actually supply that in one turn, so we'll see next turn whenever I look at the reserve box, because how much is actually there. But the approach I took with this northern front, I'll call it, is different than what I did in my single-player campaigns. I put more of a forward operating style down. I put a little bit more effort into trying to defend the railroad to the east of here that heads straight towards Moscow. A little worried how that actually plays itself out whenever the turn does get done and put in. The defense of Smolensk is kind of similar to what I've always done with a handful of single-player games I've gone about a month or so into. The land gap, I do try a rail-in unit, a unit from up north down into this area. I kind of feel like there's enough supply depots there. I still haven't wrapped my mind around the logistics system in this game fully, but that's part of why I decided to just dive into playing a head-to-head game. So it might backfire on that. I'm not going to have supplies next turn regardless of my opinion of what I do, unless there's something I'm really not understanding about all this. But the hope is that I can hold Smolensk. I think turn 4 is when, or 3 or 4 is whenever he gets the victory points if he takes it. Being that he's already 100, 140 miles away from it, I believe every hex is 10 miles, then yeah, it's going to be a challenge. I'm not 100% sure I'm going to be able to do that, but we will see in the next several turns. Either way, I'm a little happier with Smolensk's area than I am Peskov's, and Kiev is a nightmare. I still haven't figured out how ever to get any of these units anywhere. It almost seems futile, but in the same case, if I can engage them in any way to slow this army down from getting into central Ukraine, because I don't think there's a chance. Historically, this was one of the largest pockets eventually whenever Kiev fell, so I guess my goal remains to just prevent that from happening. But I don't give myself the highest chances of doing that. At Odessa, on the other hand, I'm gonna put a few rifle divisions inside of the fort and see how that holds, and then I think it's Reskov or Rakov or however it's pronounced is where I'm gonna try to put a defensive line. I don't have much hope, but I'm very curious to see what I can do defensively there. But other than that, I'm gonna send it and go to turn 2.